Hello everyone and welcome to the second lesson of District 9, analysing the structure through narrative theory. So this is the second one. So for the starter activity, I'd like you to write down what you remember about the 5 elements of Todorov's narrative. Okay, so pause the video and do that. What are the 5 elements of Todorov's narrative? Okay, now what you should remember is that we have an equilibrium where everything is in place, the character's life day after day. Then we have the disruption, what happens to that character's life, how that character, what sort of problems they face in the initial instance. Then we have the recognition of the disruption, where the character realises what's happened, the attempts to repair, where they try and fix it, and the new equilibrium is when they've solved the situation, but what new world are they now living in? Okay. But today we're going to be looking at a different narrative theory, which is going to be done by Joseph Campbell, another 20th century theorist. Okay, now he came up with the hero's journey. Okay, so we're going to be talking about what the hero's journey is, what the 12 elements are of it, and you're going to be making notes and looking at examples. Okay, so let's get started. So Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey should be your subheading. Okay, so let's look at part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4. Don't look at the 1 to 12 just yet, just 1, 2, 3 and 4. So part 1 is the call to adventure, where you have a character has exactly that, a call to adventure. Then we have a supreme ordeal in initiation, where something goes wrong for that character. And then we have part 3, the unification or transformation, where that character changes, becomes perhaps more strong or more independent. And then the final part is the road back, or the hero's return. Okay, so it's quite similar to Todorov's narrative, but there are some substantial differences, particularly with how we have the 12 elements in the centre that differentiate it from it. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through all 12. Okay, you don't have to make notes on every single one. Maybe just give the subheadings and a couple of words here and there. You might need to pause the video to do that. Okay, but I'm going to read you through each one. So the hero's journey is a pattern of a narrative identified by the American scholar Joseph Campbell that appears in drama, storytelling, myth, religious ritual, and psychological development. It describes the typical adventure of the archetype known as the hero, the person who goes out and achieves great deeds on behalf of the group, tribe, or civilization. Okay, so the first 3 points are: the ordinary world. The hero, uneasy or comfortable or unaware, is introduced sympathetically to the audience, so the audience can identify with the situation or dilemma. The hero is shown against a background of environment, heredity, and personal history, some kind of polarity where you've got two sides of something. In the hero's life, he's pulling in different directions and causing stress. That's number 1. So at the call to adventure, something shakes up the situation, either from external pressures or from something rising up from deep within. So the hero must face the beginnings of change. Number 3, refusal of the call. The hero feels the fear of the unknown and tries to turn away from the adventure, however briefly. Alternately, another character may express the uncertainty and danger ahead. So that is the call to adventure, okay, in part 1, and then they're the separated 3 elements. Let's look at the second section then, which is 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so we have the supreme ordeal or initiation. Okay, meeting with the mentor. The hero comes across a seasoned traveller of the world who gives him or her training, equipment, or advice that will help on the journey. Or the hero reaches within to a source of courage and wisdom. Number 5, crossing the threshold. At the end of Act 1, the hero commits to leaving the ordinary world and entering a new region or condition with unfamiliar rules and values. Number 6, tests allies and enemies. The hero is tested and sorts out allegiances in the special world. Okay, so that's section 2. Okay, so where new characters are introduced, you've got characters kind of becoming affected by what's been put in front of them. And then we have part 3, which is the unification or transformation. So number 7, the approach. The hero and newfound allies prepare for the major challenge in the special world. Number 8, the ordeal. Near the middle of the story, the hero enters a central space in the special world and confronts death or faces his or her greatest fear. Out of the moment of death comes a new life. Number 9 is the reward. The hero takes possession of the treasure won by facing death. There may be celebration, but there is also danger of losing the treasure again. Okay, so where the character has become transformed. Alright, so the last bit, the road back or the hero's return. Quite a long one, this one. Number 10, the road back. About 3/4 of the way through the story, the hero is driven to complete the adventure, leaving the special world to be sure the treasure is brought home. Often a chase scene signals the urgency and danger of the mission. 11. The resurrection. At the climax, the hero is severely tested once more on the threshold of home. He or she is purified by a last sacrifice, another moment of death and rebirth, but on a higher and more complete level. By the hero's action, the polarities that were in conflict at the beginning are finally resolved. And then the final one is return with the elixir. Okay, elixir is just like a special, I suppose you call it a juice or a liquid. Okay, and it's being used as a metaphor here. The hero returns home or continues the journey, bearing some elements of the treasure that has the power to transform the world as the hero has been transformed. Okay, so there's a lot to kind of pick apart there. Okay, but so you have the part one, call to adventure, part two, supreme ordeal or initiation, and then we have unification or transformation, and we have the road back and hero's return. But they're divided into 12, and so you should have made notes on all 12. You're welcome to go back and pause the video before I move on. So what's going to happen is I'm going to put in front of you, okay, 6 examples. All right. So you've got Harry Potter, Star Wars, The Matrix, Spider-Man, The Lion King, and The Lord of the Rings. So what I recommend you do is you pick a colour, okay, and make notes of each of the 12 elements that's going to happen, that are going to be done, okay. So this is the ordinary world. So number 1. I probably won't read all these because this is a lot. Okay, so number 1 for Harry Potter. Harry Potter lives in the cupboard under the stairs at Fort Privet Drive. For Star Wars, Luke Skywalker lives on a moisture farm on Tatooine. For The Matrix, Thomas Anderson lives a double life as a regular citizen and as Neo, a hacker. Spider-Man, Peter Parker is a nerdy student who is bullied by his classmates. The Lion King, Simba is heir to the throne in the Pride Lands. And Lord of the Rings, Frodo lives comfortably in the Shire and visits Bilbo. So I want you to pick one to follow. Don't write all of them because that'll be a nightmare. That's far too much writing. That's 6, 12. I've got 72 things to write down. You don't need to do that. Okay, so make notes on a particular character thread. Okay, so it might be Harry Potter, might be Star Wars, might be The Matrix, might be Spider-Man, might be The Lion King or Lord of the Rings. Okay, so that's the ordinary world. So as you can see, you've got the names in the bottom right-hand corner. Number 2, again, I'm not going to read these. So I'm going to leave them on screen for about 10 seconds each time, and then you write down the one that tracks through. Okay. Okay, so that's the call to adventure. Then we have the refusal of the call. Have a look. This bit here, the refusal of the call. And then we have the meeting with the mentor. You've got a little note here that says that in Star Wars it's in a slightly different order. That's the meeting with the mentor, and then crossing the first threshold. And then we have test allies and enemies. So you should be making notes on whichever one you picked, whichever colour. Okay. Approach to the innermost cave. They're slightly different names, but they still more or less match. The ordeal. The reward. The road back. The resurrection. And the return with the elixir. Okay, so you should have been making notes on a particular character, tracking them through the story and how it fits into Campbell's hero's journey. Okay, let's move on then. So we have the 12 steps, and what I'd like you to do now then is to use these 12 steps to make your own narrative. Okay, so have a story where you have a main character that enters the ordinary world, call to adventure, they refuse to call it, mental help, etc., and all the way around to 12. I'd like you to create your own story for this. Okay, so you want to pause the video. I reckon it might take you about 20 minutes to do that. Okay, so make your own story using the hero's journey. Okay. Now then, this is the final activity of the lesson, just because I want to eventually bring it back to using this to analyse District 9, but not just yet, okay? So once you've done this, you can move on to the next lesson, which is going to be character theories, okay? So your final activity for this lesson is make your own story using the 12-step 12-step plan set out by Joseph Campbell, okay? All right, thank you guys. See you in the next one.